I really must get around to either fixing or replacing that overdoor heater. Okay, slightly shorter and a different video for today, boys and girls. I was chatting to someone yesterday about death, dying, funerals, all that really cool and groovy, happy stuff, but also the inevitability of it, and none of us get out of this alive. And I was reminded, because I was talking about this here little flag, not little flag, big flag, and I use this to cover our homemade caskets. They're not coffins, because coffins are that sort of like strange shape. We just make a square casket, and it's very often for people who can't afford, or their families can't afford, to have a proper funeral. So we can make really nice caskets for 100 quid. Really nice, out of plywood with some nice trim. You can varnish it. Sometimes people say don't waste it, varnish, just make us a cheap coffin. We can do it out of I don't know what this stuff's called. I don't even know where it is. Where we put it, that stuff there, I can't remember what that's called, but it's bloody heavy and it doesn't look very nice. So I like to use plywood, and then we cover it in this flag, and it looks really dignified. And I don't see why people who can't afford a proper funeral should have to have the indignity of what's called a pauper's funeral. But anyway, so I was talking about this yesterday, and I was reminded of this wonderful story in the group that I used to run, our what we used to call drip stands and dressing gowns. I was reminded of a wonderful session where we were talking about perhaps planning your own funeral. Might seem a bit macabre, but it's actually a very pragmatic thing to do, and it's quite liberating for a lot of people. And I said, because there was a chap, and we knew that he only had about 3 or 4 weeks, and he wasn't in the best of health, I think it's fair to say, and we had to wheel him into the group, and so I said to him, oh no, actually, sorry, step back a bit. He'd said to me, lad, he said, here, lad, his name was Arthur, beautiful bloke. He said, I don't want it to be an imposition, but I wonder whether you'd mind doing my funeral for me. I don't want any of them religious types there, because I don't believe anymore. He says, having been to one that you've done, I'd be right made up if you could do my funeral for me. And how could I say no? So, and I've done this quite a few times as a celebrant, not an official celebrant, just someone who turns up and talks crap. And I said to her, all right, no worries, I'd be proud and privileged and honoured to do your funeral. And remember, this is in the group. Everyone was a bit quiet while we was talking. And I said to him, are there any particular family events or anything special that you remember that you'd like me to mention? And he says, there is a bit of a story. He says, there's a bit of a story of when me and our kid were younger. He said, how about 18, 19? He couldn't have been much more than 12, 13, my little brother. He said, and one day he got a part of his body stuck in a milk bottle. And the whole group collapsed in a heap of laughter. He says, I had to take him to casualty. We had to go to hospital. I took him in my feather's car. And bearing in mind that this would have been a long time ago, not many people would have had cars. He says, and I was frightened. Both of us were right frightened as Mum and Dad would find out. He said, but that's one of the best memories I've got from all those years ago. Now, Arthur was in his 80s, and I see that's the sort of thing. I don't know. You might say that at a wedding. I don't know whether you'd want me to say that at a funeral. He says, Martin, lad, I'll leave it up to this end to decide. Anyway, he died. It was probably about 6-7 maybe 8 weeks after that, he died, and the family were okay with me doing the funeral. They wanted me to do the funeral. And we was at Grenoside Crematorium. I'm fairly sure it's Grenoside Crematorium because it's one of my favourites. And so, as you do, you're halfway through sort of like giving his life story and everything. And I was chatting to Arthur, and I asked him if there's any particular memories he had. And he told me this story of when he was about 18 and 19, and his little younger brother got a part of his body stuck in a milk bottle. And everybody in that crematorium, like they did in the group, burst into tears and tears of laughter. And I thought, I'm bloody glad I got away with that, because it's a strange one. Funerals are strange. They bring out the best and worst sometimes in people, but I got away with that. And afterwards, as everybody were leaving, this old guy come up to me, who I later obviously worked out was his younger brother. He was in his 70s. Face red, tears had been streaming down his cheeks. And he just come up to me and he threw his arms around me and gave me a huge, long, really emotional hug, a sort of man hug. And as he was doing that, he bent in and whispered in my ear, "You little bastard." Shook my hand and fucked off. That's why I do this. That's why I think a lot of the stuff that I do in the Made by Martyn thing has value. I hope you agree. That's it for today. I'm not going to do any more filming for today because I've got other things which I need to be doing, like building the brewery. Well, that's not going to happen today. Yes, but anyway, that is it for today. Thank you.